Hey everyone, time for a bit of a video. I'm going to give you some information on replacing the engine mounts on the 1KD. It's a bit of a big job, so there's lots of things to do, so it's going to be a long video to go step by step, but we'll just do what we can here. You can see the sort of things, everybody's got a different procedure. You don't have to do this, but if you want to, you need to be able to lift the engine to get the engine mounts out. You need certain clearance to things. I've had cars come in the workshop that have had engine mounts done by people where they've cracked the fan shroud. So we just loosen off, this tank and the top bolt so that if it does lift that far, the fan pushes on the fan shroud, it'll just lift the fan shroud up. This is all just sort of sitting here. You certainly do need to remove your air box, maybe your battery, your compressor, your alternator, so you need to disconnect the battery at both ends so you don't have any short circuit issues there, because you just create more work for yourself. Obviously everything that you can see that's removed needs to be removed out of the way. Don't take these off for the aircon, just undo the mounting bolts and carefully maneuver it around and it can sit there. Once you seem to get everything out of the way, the engine mount needs to come out through here, through this area here. It's pretty limited, it's pretty tight to get it through. So all this stuff is what's been disconnected so that you can maneuver the engine mount out. The mounting bolts holding the engine mount to the cross member of the chassis at the lower end, you can remove those mounting bolts. If you look straight down the middle of the picture, you can see they're not there. And also underneath the turbo, you can't see it, but the bolt on top of the engine mount right there, you can remove that nut off. And then what you're going to need to do once you remove all those bolts, the engine is just sitting there on those engine mounts. Don't forget to remove the vacuum lines as well, and don't damage those and don't crush those, and make sure you reconnect those later. On this one, look, I just like separating jobs, to be quite honest, and there is a vibration through the vehicle, and I would like to now replace the engine mounts to eliminate that for our own experience, where we haven't changed anything else. Everything's running in absolute peak condition. So it's something that I would recommend that you do. If you're doing something like engine replacement, then replace the engine mounts. They're pretty cheap compared to an engine, so just do the mounts. Let's not make it an option. Let's make it a obvious, wise choice. Just change the engine mounts. Now, if you want to do your engine mounts, I'm going to give you a few other tips of things you should probably do while you're there, and a few related jobs. So if you're doing engine mounts, then you could probably do your thermostat while you're at it, if you haven't already done your thermostat. Say you did the BFE earlier, before the thermostat was a thing, and now you're going, well, I want to do the engine mounts, then I think you should probably do the thermostat, right? Now, if you're doing a turbo, say you're one of the unlucky ones, very rare, but it does happen. We've got turbos on the shelf for Prados and Hiluxes. Genuine is what I use and recommend. If you're changing your turbo, or you're bringing your turbo in for us to change, whatever the case may be, while you got the turbo out, it'd be advisable to do the engine mount, because this side's the hard side, the other side's pretty straightforward. So if you're doing your turbo, do the engine mount and do the thermostat if you haven't done that, because you can see all the things that are coming off that's involved. Now, alternator, I wouldn't say do that, because an alternator on a 150 Prado, new genuine retail price is $1,223. I just priced it up. Obviously we get them a bit cheaper, so it'll be a bit cheaper for you if you come here and, the folding. But because, no bank fees and all that sort of thing, we can save you some money. Compressor, I wouldn't just change that out as a matter of changing it either, because it's, again, about another $1,000. They're the sort of things. The alternator is rare also, but I'd carry a spare if I was traveling a long way from home if I was you. Compressor, they rarely fail. If they do, it's one of those things, you'll be in the poopy and you just need to get it sorted out best way you can. So at some point in time, when we see enough of these failures at watt kilometres, we can probably give you a guide to maybe where you might want to replace it as preventive maintenance. But it's a lot of wasted money at $1,000 plus labour plus gassing on something that rarely happens. So if we've heard of 5, I don't really want to say, hey, everybody, with 1,000,000 1KDs, you need to change this at 400,000 Ks because they're starting to fail, because it might only be a handful of compressor failures. So if you watch this video so far, go ahead and let us know if you've got a 1KD, how long you've owned it for, how many Ks on it when you got it, how many Ks now, have you replaced the turbo, Did you do it as prevention, or was it a failure? Was it noisy? Whatever. Have you replaced an aircon compressor? How many Ks was it at? Did you go for genuine? Did you go for aftermarket? What did it cost? Let's get some info in the comments if we can, just to help people out. So look, over that side, there's nothing you can see we need to pull out of the way at the top. So it's mainly the fan shroud. We've taken the 2 top bolts out. The tank, so 3 bolts. Just to loosen up the fan shroud. The belt's obviously got to come off to get the alternator off and the compressor. And you know, it's just some wiring and stuff like that. Most plugs and stuff you can see. Like I said, I did that so you can sort of see what's going on. That's your thermostat down in behind that housing there. Much easier to see and access. That's why I'm saying you've got to think about a combo job. If anything expensive like the turbo and big job, then thermostat is not much more to do while you're in there. And engine mount, it's a no-brainer. If you got that turbo out of the way, that is the time, because you've got to do all this work for the turbo. You know, you got the turbo out of the way. Wow, it makes the engine mount so easy. Let's say for turbos 3 or 4 grand, well, an engine mount's a couple $100 max, you know what I mean? So 100 and whatever it is, 100, I think about 120 or 30 bucks, something like that. So, you know, about 250 for the pair of engine mounts in parts. Labor to do it separately to do this. It's not going to be any less than $400. That'd be on a good day, mates rates, folding like just didn't happen. You know, we just everything went so smooth. I don't even know if that'd happen. You're probably going to be looking more like $500 or $600. Have a crack yourself if you want. It's a fun job. You definitely want to be mechanically apt, good on the tools, if you want to get in and have a go at something like this. And of course, it is a little bit dangerous because you do need to lift the engine to get those engine mounts out. Your options are, you can get supports that go across from the guard here at the side of the guard. You know, they go there and it's a bar goes across onto here. That's one option to support the engine at the engine lifting hook here. You can just use an engine crane. You could use a rope to the roof or something, block and tackle, ratchet strap. There's lots of things. You might need to take the bonnet off to get a ratchet strap from there to your roof. But then it might not hang evenly, so you might need to have one of those equalizers on your engine crane to be able to do that. You can put a jack underneath it, but you might want to be careful how you do that. You don't want to support the weight of the whole engine with everything bolted onto it. An engine's about 180 kilos. And then you've got all this extra gear bolted onto it. This is probably 250 bolted on the front of the transmission. So I wouldn't really want to just put it on the transmission pan or the engine sump, and it's all hard to access and at risk. So what I've done this time, just to be different, I've made up a little special tool. We're going to see how that works out. Let me just grab it. I'll show you my little piece of engineering. It's amazing. All right, here it is. All right, this is my engineering, and I'll show you how it's going to go, because you might want to make one of this. We've got a 2-inch sleeper here. That's treated pine, must be treated pine. No, I'm just joking. And this one's not treated pine, right? So, and I've got a couple of bugle batten screws holding it all together in there. Those big with it, you know, heavy duty. And I've got a couple little, this is a bit of a prototype. I could make a better one. We're just mucking around, we're trying different things, and I drilled some holes for the little locators. So underneath, there's a bit of foam and a couple of bolts and a metal bracket right at the bottom of the balancing. So you unbolt that and bring that out. It'll be all dirty, covered in mud if you go off-road touring, that sort of thing. And that allows, you'll see that 2 bits of alloy at the bottom of the engine side, the sump if you like, that originally was going to go into those holes, but then plan B, it was going in those holes. Now plan B, it's going in those holes, just to help locate it a bit. So what's going up, this piece of timber here, which has got a slight chamfer there, because it goes up and it's going to support along where the front of the transmission pan is. So it's soft pine, so if there's enough weight, it'll just push through whatever, and sort of, you might see the heads of the bolts, you might see the edge of the transmission pan mark after we've used it, that sort of thing. But it's a good solid mounting area. This bit here is touching on the edge of the bell housing of the automatic transmission. We don't have too much pressure there because it's just a cast alloy housing, so you don't want to break it. So that's why I've taken a bit off there, and we've looked at it. This is a bit of a test job. And then, of course, some of the weight's going to be directly here, which is the bottom of the sump. So we've spread the load over a few different areas, and it's nice and flat on the bottom to put the trolley jack underneath. So we're going to give it a test and see how it goes. We're not going to include that in this video. If there's a problem, we'll let you know. That was a bad idea. Look what's happened, but I assume it's going to all go smoothly. Didn't spend too much time on this one. You could probably do something better, but we had a bit of a think about it. That's what we come up with. It's a new system. And to give you guys, this is what this video is all about, to help you people go, okay, well, I've got that vibration, I want to do the engine mounts, I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars paying anyone to do it. And you're limited on who you can find to do the job right the first time. We can't do everyone's car, so it's up to us and you guys to watch the videos, look after your vehicles, or just leave the engine mounts as they are. It's just a vibration. But in this vehicle, I've got to be honest, I find it quite annoying. I think maybe they were quite stuck when we did the engine and we knocked them around a bit too much trying to get them off, and thinking, oh, well, normally we replace them, but I went, oh, no, I want to put them on and see what happens and see how long they last. And what I can tell you is, I think it's worse than it was before, even with a nice new engine, which if you don't know the story, I changed it because I could. It's like having a new Prado, new engine, new turbo. Like I just priced up the alternator. I was thinking about throwing the alternator at it. That'll probably happen soon anyway, separate job. But that's how I roll. I can't buy a new 150 Prado with a 1KD, so I'll buy whatever else I can to go around it. I just ordered this replacement because that was went missing at some point. And yeah, there was a bit of a wrong one put in there, so I just ordered one of those. Just keep buying stuff and replacing stuff and looking after it, and it'll just last forever is the plan. Bada bing, bada boom. Catch you in the next video, and I'll keep talking in that one. See ya.